Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Talkin Dawgs is live on your YouTube, and we're happy to be here for another week of Mississippi State sports talk right here on the Maroon and White Daily YouTube channel. I appreciate you guys for joining. Still got a few people to come in here. A lot of people watch this afterwards as well. So whether you're joining live or joining afterwards, I sure appreciate your support and everything that you do for Maroon and White Daily to support us. If you are new here, please subscribe to this YouTube channel while you're here. Like it, share it, whatever you want to do. But I'd really appreciate your support in that way. We would appreciate you coming over and checking us out at maroonandwhitedaily.com for all things Mississippi State sports and recruiting. If you sign up right now, $1 off your first week. And after that, 50% off the rest of the year. 50% off for a full year subscription. I mean, it basically it costs the same as a steak at this point. So come check us out. You can do without a steak, or you can do both, whatever you want to do. But if you're into sacrifices, then you can do without a steak for 1 week or something like that, and you can come talk with some of your Mississippi State friends and get the latest on Mississippi State team and recruiting right there at Maroon and White Daily. We'd love to have you. All right, guys. So tonight on the agenda, Mississippi State falls to Arkansas, and no other way to say it, but it was kind of embarrassing for Mississippi State what happened in that ball game against Arkansas on Saturday. 58-25 was the final. Arkansas beats down the Bulldogs in this one, the 7th straight loss, and this one was kind of a setback for Mississippi State. I didn't feel like the last 3 games were a setback. I thought it was Mississippi State moving forward. I thought Texas, Georgia, and Texas A&M were all important games in Jeff Lebby's program building process, I guess you can say. And I thought the Saturday was a true step back. I thought that it was an opportunity for State to get their first conference win under Lebby, a chance to end this 7-game skid. And instead, the defense was at its absolute worst. It was one of the worst showings defensively in an SEC game in Mississippi State history. And Arkansas scored at will. They averaged over a first down per play. And on offense, Mississippi State missed a ton of opportunities. They missed at least 24 points off the scoreboard. I think you can certainly look at 3 or 4 possessions that Mississippi State had a chance to score that they didn't take advantage as a key part of this ball game. Now, is it enough to overcome 58 points by Arkansas? I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. I think certainly had State connected on those possessions that they missed, particularly 3 touchdowns that they should have had, I think things look a lot different in that game. I'll just say that. I think the momentum of the game is totally different for Mississippi State. But they had 2 trips to the 1-yard line that were reviewed touchdowns that didn't go Mississippi State's way, and they ended up getting 3 points total out of those drives. And then another stretch across the goal line from Johnny Daniels on a would-be touchdown that turned into a fumble. So that's 3 possessions right there where you're on the 1-yard line. Had Johnny Daniels not even – I mean, you like that effort from Johnny Daniels, but had he just simply gone to the ground, Mississippi State essentially has 3 or 4 plays there to get in the end zone. And instead, that was a key part of the ballgame because State was kind of making a comeback. That score, I think, would have got them to within trying to think what happened at that point. I think it would have been within a couple of scores. But Arkansas plays a lot different after that happens if you're able to get that in. So it's just tough. It was a tough pill to swallow once again for Mississippi State, and just stacking on this resume for Coleman Hutzler as to why it's going to be hard to bring him back if you're Jeff Lebby. I mean, at this point, the defense is right behind the 2003 defense for the worst defense of this millennium, and you can make an argument it's the worst defense in Mississippi State history. And we talk about this over and over about who's to blame here? What's the real issues? I think there's a lot of issues, and a lot of people were kind of upset with Jeff Lebby for not, calling anybody out at his press conference. I don't ever expect him to do that. I don't ever expect him to call out anybody at his press conference or throw anyone under the bus. It's always going to be coach speak. It's always going to be a way that he protects the players and the coach underneath him. And I totally get that. There's nothing in his contract that says you have to come out and condemn people, answer every question exactly how people want to be answered. He's required to come to the press conference, and that's it. And he's been cordial. He hasn't done anything that I would say is demeaning to the media or insulting our intelligence or anything like that. I think he's really, just protecting his team and coaches. The only thing that matters is by the end of the year, Jeff Lebby is looking in another direction for the defense. Because if you don't, I'm just telling you, this is going to be an even bigger disaster. And I know AP said that a sporting event is not a disaster, but I will continue to use that word. This will be a disaster for Mississippi State further than what it is now if you continue down the same path, because it's not going to get much better. And it's not entirely Coleman Hutzler's fault. I think he is at fault. You can certainly blame him for a lot of things. He's the leader of the defense. But there's things that have worked against him too. Talent level's not there. The depth's not there. There's only so much he could do, but they should be better. They should be better than this. They're dead last nationally. They shouldn't be this bad. So part of it is talent, depth, certainly. But at the end of the day, he's got to answer for that. And if Mississippi State's not playing at its highest level that they can possibly play, you got to look in a different direction. And I think that's kind of where you are right now with Mississippi State on the defensive side. I don't think that you can survive another offseason with what you got there defensively. And at this point, you're trying to sell the transfer portal. You're trying to show this transfer portal that you're moving in the right direction. You've already lost several guys in this class that could help you next year defensively. So you're already digging yourself in a hole. It's just it's a bad situation for Mississippi State. And offensively, there's certainly things that they can do better, and they're not getting a pass at all. But they're good enough that they should have already won an SEC game and, had maybe 3 or 4 more wins. I don't know. So where it is now, Mississippi State 1-7, setting up to be the team's worst season since probably 1988. They got a chance for an SEC win now in 3 more games, and that's going on the road to Tennessee and Ole Miss and then playing Missouri at home. So not looking great. They got UMass this week. Obviously, you got to win that one, and we'll see what happens from there. So, but quickly, and I know some people will probably talk about it, but basketball right around the corner. Everybody's excited. Season tickets are sold out for Mississippi State men's basketball. Unbelievable. First time since 2011, 2012, I think, is what Zach Selman tweeted earlier. That was, I believe, Stansbury's last year. And if you remember, everybody was really excited about that season. I think that excitement is back at the hump. And I think a lot of it has to do with football, obviously, and people were waiting for a winner. But I think there's genuine excitement for this basketball team. Josh Hubbard has a lot to do with that. Chris Jans obviously has a lot to do with that. 2 seasons here at Mississippi State and 2 NCAA tournaments. And now you have a chance to build on that. Really exciting portal class. The offense is going to be exciting. It's going to be something that is going to be fun to watch. And this team is starting to gain traction. A lot of the national guys aren't as high on Mississippi State just yet, but I think this is going to be a fun team to watch. I think it's going to be Jan's best team. And he's been inside the top 25 at times in each of his first 2 seasons. So it's going to be a really fun year. I'm excited about that. They start the season on Monday. The women start the season after that, I think on Thursday. But it's West Georgia first, and then Georgia State on Friday. You got a 2-game week in Starkville. First 3 games are at home, and then you go to South Haven for Utah on Sunday, November 17th. You go to Dallas, Texas, take on SMU. That'll be a good challenge on Friday, November 22nd. You go to Tempe, Arizona for the Arizona tip-off to take on UNLV. And after that, either Butler or Northwestern. So, so a couple of name teams there. ACC, SEC Challenge against Pittsburgh on December 4th. That starts a two-game stretch at home. Prairie View, A&M. Going on the road to Tupelo to take on McNeese. That's a really good McNeese State team. And obviously a team that's going to be fighting for an NCAA tournament berth. Central Michigan and Jackson. Go to Memphis to take on the Tigers of Memphis. Really exciting matchup there. And then close out non-conference play at home against Bethune-Cookman. Probably the best non-conference schedule that Mississippi State's had. There were some big games that first year, I think, especially neutral site, but this one's a good one too. All right, so with that, we will break into questions and comments. If you guys got them, throw them over there in the chat box. I'd appreciate it. Kobe Walker talks about the women's soccer team winning the SEC. That's big time. James Armstrong doing an unbelievable job. They have a case for number one nationally. They have been ranked number one in one of the polls. But this team right there with Duke, I think Duke's probably the number one team right now after winning the ACC, and they beat previous number one Wake Forest. So Duke has a claim to that. But Mississippi State's right there on their heels, and this Mississippi State team, 15-1 on the season, school record for wins already. School record for SEC wins, 9-0. 3 goals allowed all season long, 1 in SEC play. The SEC record for goals allowed in a season, or I guess the least amount of goals, is 8, I believe, in 2019 from South Carolina. Mississippi State has a very good chance of doing that. So that would be unbelievable. This is incredible job. Mississippi State dead last in SEC history of the original SEC teams in winning percentage and wins in SEC play. Texas A&M has only been in this conference for 12 years, and they have more SEC wins than Mississippi State does all time. That kind of tells you where this program has been. Only one winning season in SEC play before James Armstrong got here. They won the SEC West one year. They have now had consecutive winning seasons in SEC play under James Armstrong. So, and he's going to have, I guess, all their NCAA tournament, whether he'll have most of their NCAA tournaments at this point that they have won prior to his arrival. So just an incredible job. One of the best jobs ever by a Mississippi State coach in athletics. And they'll go into the SEC tournament, the number 1 seed. They will host in the NCAA tournament and probably be in Starkville for a while if they continue to win. So this is big time, and people are really excited about it. Mississippi State fans will support a winner, no matter what the sport is. State fans, when they start winning, they show up. So that's been evident. That's been a very difficult place to play the last couple of years. This year, undefeated at home, and having that home field advantage for most of the NCAA tournament is going to be huge. This team has a legit chance to win a national championship. They're that good. Justin Tidwell, why is Hutzler still employed? OU fired the OC, and the offense looked improved against Ole Miss. Please tell me we aren't giving him another year. I don't know what's going to happen there with him. I still have my doubts that a change is made, but we'll see what, if it comes down to it for Jeff Lebby. As far as not firing him now, I can get it. As long as Lebby does it after the season, that's all that matters to me. I think this would have been a good time to do it. Coming into this week, you're starting to lose a lot of fans as far as like just being interested in this program right now. The attendance Saturday is going to be embarrassing, and it would have, I think, bought Jeff Lebby a little bit of grace. Now, if you go into next season and you kept Hutzler on as defensive coordinator, there are not going to be many people that are on board with Jeff Lebby. I'm just telling you, talked to enough Mississippi State fans. I think everybody's out on Hutzler at this point. If a change isn't made there, you're not telling people you made a mistake with this hire, it's going to be really bad. and there's going to be a lot of people that don't have faith in Jeff Lebby running this program. You hired a first-time defensive coordinator, a guy that's never ran a defense, a guy that was the special teams coordinator for Alabama, and has actually had players that have said that they didn't see eye to eye with him. And you essentially hired him because he had coached in this league and he's recruited in this league, and I get that part of it. But now that you've seen that the defense is not able to be run correctly under him, you have to correct that problem. That is a major issue. This is one of the worst defenses in the country this year. And we knew it was going to be bad just from the talent level alone, but I think the hope was somewhere between 75 and 100. If you're 75 to 100 in total defense, Mississippi State's fighting for bowl eligibility here late in the season. Instead, you're 134th in a lot of categories and 125 plus in most categories, and you're fighting for your second win. You're trying to get 2 wins this year. And the defense, to me, is to blame 100%. The offense has been good enough to get you 3 or 4 more wins. So you just cannot move forward. This guy's making $1 million a year. $1 million to have the worst defense in the SEC by far. That's tough. That's tough, man. That's a lot of money going down the drain. I mean, you can literally put at this point, you can just about put a mannequin on the sidelines and tell the defense just to go run itself, and it's not going to be that much worse. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but you're not getting production at all from this defense. You're forcing teams to punt on average in SEC play. I think 1.5 times per game. You might get 2 punts. So 20 punts the entire year in 8 games. It's awful. 5 sacks on the season. Mississippi State dead last nationally in that category. They're getting no pressure and they can't cover. That's not a good combination. So that's just where you are right now. And as long as that change is made after the season, I think people will be on board and excited about the future. But if that change is not made, season ticket sales are going to be at an all-time low. There's going to be very few people invested in giving to NIL. It's going to be a disaster. So it has to happen. So we'll see if Jeff Lebby makes that call. Sam Sharma, Jeff Lebby's seemingly the only person not embarrassed. Yeah, I'm sure he's embarrassed. I'm sure that this is tough for him. And he doesn't like losing, and especially losing this fashion, but I just think he's just a little more diplomatic in how he handles himself, like in a press conference setting. Problem is the offense and the freshman quarterback have to score on every single drive because of the defense. Yeah, that's what you put yourself into. You're not forcing punts. You have to pray for a turnover because otherwise they're getting in the end zone or kicking a field goal. And that's not a good strategy. I mean, to have to rely on a freshman quarterback in his first year in college football to score at that rate, the pressure on the offense to get the job done is immense at that point. And you can't live that way. Bryce Hall, Robbie, we've spent close to $100 million over the past few years on renovations and upgrades for other and smaller sports. Why is football the moneymaker getting the lesser chunk of that money? Well, part of that is the last administration. That's just what they had on the docket. There hasn't been a lot of renovations under Selman's reign, and I don't think that he's super worried about renovations right now. I think he's more focused on revenue sharing, but at this stage, you've got to do something at football. State's football stadium is outdated, and the game day atmosphere is just not where it needs to be. And revenue sharing is big. Having money for players is big, and you need to be able to do that. And State needs to make sure that they're in position to do that. But they also need to take care of the small things inside the stadium that need to be fixed. You don't have to do a south end zone expansion right now. I don't think that makes much sense. But can you upgrade the speakers? I can't hear anything that's happening at the game. I can't hear the referees call. I can't hear the PA. I hear nothing. All I hear is just muffled sound, and that's embarrassing to have as a SEC school. There is no other SEC school dealing with what Mississippi State's dealing with their stadium. Vanderbilt is putting in multi-million-dollar renovation right now. They're upgrading their stadium. Missouri's doing the same thing. Mississippi State is the only place that's not up to par right now. It's just not, and they got to get there. So, like I said, South End Zone expansion. I don't think that's the right call right now, but there's several things that need to be addressed inside that stadium. There's no doubt about it. Sam, when the people are the ones footing the bill for all this, I think he's required to answer some questions. Y'all giving him way too much slack. I ain't giving him too much slack. I'm just like, what do you can't make the man answer the questions the way you want them. He's required to answer the questions. He's answering them how he wants to answer them. Am I supposed to pull a gun on him? I mean, I can't do anything about that. So you have to just understand he's not going to give you the answer that you want, and it happens all across the country. Very few coaches are coming out and saying, you know what, I'm an idiot. I don't know what I'm doing. My defensive coordinator is terrible. I don't have the talent. They're not doing that. So there's nothing that we can do about how he answers questions. It's just understood at this point. He's not going to give you the answer that you want. But we've asked the questions, and we've fulfilled our obligation on that. We don't work for him. He doesn't work for us. That's how it works. It happens in every avenue. It's not just sports. When people answer questions, they're not always going to give you what you want. Tom T, Thunder and Lightning with video, finally. Yeah, you guys can go check out Thunder and Lightning. We have all of our shows are now going on video, online, on YouTube, the Super Talk channel. Go subscribe to Super Talk, and you can go check out those videos if you would like to do that. If you don't want to listen on your podcast feed, but yeah, a lot of people have been kind of clamoring for that. We've had a nice showing of people watching the last 2 days, so pretty excited. MSU Bulldog fan, what are some top prospects for DC that Levy could pick up if he fires Hutzler? Um, I like Shao Wood from Houston. That's my number one guy. I would go after him. I think he's doing a great job there at Houston. We know their struggles on offense, and he's keeping them in ball games and helping them win games. I don't think that it would be that difficult, and somebody else might come calling. That you're going to have to battle somebody else for it, but I don't think it'd be all that difficult to give him a raise and tell him you got an opportunity to come to the SEC. I mean, a lot of guys are up for that challenge, but there's got you survey the landscape. You see guys that are rising stars, maybe in Group of Five. That's what I always look at is like who's the next guy up in the Group of Five. The Manny Diaz, um, a guy like that. That's the guy I'm going after. Can you make a Manny Diaz type power higher this time around, just like Dan Mullen did in 2010? And it's still going to be a big rebuild. They've got to change the talent on that side of the ball. They got to add depth. There's a lot that's got to happen over there. But the start of this thing you got to do is find a guy that's done it, that's proven it, and then sell that to the transfer portal. If you're able to hire a really good coordinator, I think the talent will follow. And it might not be right away, and you might have a rebuilding year, but can you get up to 100th on defense? I don't think that's too much to ask. Any news on Mario Craver or Kelly? No news. We'll find out Wednesday, somewhat when that availability report comes out. Justin Tidwell, do you think we can hold on to Kevin Coleman? He started to look more and more pissed and ready to move on. Just think he's frustrated right now. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that means he's ready to move on. I just think he's frustrated with losing games just like they all are. You're definitely gonna have to pay up for him, but you worry about that after the season. John Storm Chaser 4850. Alabama friends said they wish they had Mississippi State instead of Vandy this season. Yeah, that's true. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are saying that. It's kind of sad. This is likely the worst defense we've ever had. Yeah, it's up there. 2003 and this one are battling neck and neck, I think. Sam, it's not just firing Hutzler, it's also hiring a competent DC. Well, I mean, I think that's understood. You can't just fire him and just hire anybody. Garrett Mills, what do you see Mississippi State selling recruits on defense to come here for an improvement next season? I think it's going to have to be a good coordinator that can sell his production. That's definitely what you got to do. You got to have a guy that has a track record. Jeff Lebby had a track record that he was able to get people out of the portal based on what he's done before as an offensive coordinator. They knew his offense was exciting. Nobody knew anything about Coleman Hutzler. He had some connections recruiting at Alabama, but it didn't it didn't mean anything. They weren't able to get anyone out of the portal that was an impact player, and not really anybody um, in that freshman class either. MSU Bulldog fan, do you think if we had last year's defense and this year's offense, we would be a slightly better team? Ooh, no, because the defense would have still given up a lot of points, not this much, but it would have still given up a lot of points, and you don't have the offense last year to score. If you had this year's offense, and you're saying this year's offense, I see. Last year's defense, this year's offense. Yeah, I think that's possible. You had a little bit better defensive line, a lot better defensive line play, and it wasn't great, but it's way better than this. And you had the top two tacklers in the league at linebacker and a couple of pieces in the back end. Yeah, totally. Yeah, way better defense. And yeah, defense probably would have been top 50, top 70. That would have been good enough, I think, to get you to a bowl game this year. I really believe that. Random Yoda, any truth to the rumor that Mark Keenan is being looked at for ag secretary? I don't know. I saw that on Six Pack earlier, which by the way, you can access Six Pack by coming on to Maroon and White Daily. So come check that out. It's it's kind of out of left field a little bit, but I don't know if it's just people, just trying to will that into existence or what. But it is an interesting thought. I haven't heard that. I have heard before that there's a possibility eventually he gets back into politics, but I don't know if there's any truth to that at all. Jackson, hope we can keep James Armstrong. Will be deservedly approached by some big schools. Yeah, I think they'll do what they need to do to keep him, and he likes it here. Zachary Tucker, do you think will add a little bit more on offense with the offensive line and receiver? Yes. They'll have to go out and get offensive linemen this time around, once again, and hopefully a better job they're evaluating. And yeah, they'll probably go after a receiver too as well. Zachary, what about Muschamp? Yeah, I don't think he would sign up for this. I'd give him a call just in case, but Storm Chaser, I never liked hiring coordinators as first time head coaches. They tend to lose games as they're learning the job, opposed to an already experienced head coach. Yeah, I don't know who they would have hired really move the needle. Um, they're definitely, yeah. I think Levy's definitely learning on the job. I think there's a lot of potential there. I think the offense is really good. I think it's going to be really good. Um, but I think what you're seeing right now is like you're just having to learn as you go, and we'll see how that works out. Justin Tidwell, how bad does Ole Miss beat us this year? I've learned that like every time you think it's going to be bad, uh, with Ole Miss, it always seems to be competitive. This rivalry is too good to expect blowouts or in some cases expect a outcome for a particular team. So I don't know. I think they definitely win, but you just never know. It's such a weird rivalry, and State will probably be playing up, I would think, for that. Who knows what Ole Miss is going to be like at that point? If they lose another game or two, they're out of the playoff. So it's going to be a different kind of mindset. But I think right now they'd be favored to win by 3 touchdowns. Bryce Hall, did you read the D1 baseball article on us? It seemed to be pretty high on the team. No, I didn't. But they usually are kind of high on Mississippi State. Storm Chaser, are we done with Blake Shapen for next year regardless? Van Buren's been impressive. No, I think you would love to have him come back. I think that would be ideal for you if he comes back and you're able to have a legit quarterback battle between he and Michael Van Buren. And I see Van Buren probably winning that. I think Van Buren at this point looks like the quarterback of the future, of the present, whatever. But having Shapen in your back pocket would be awesome. And you don't have to go out and try to go get somebody because it's going to be very difficult to go out there and recruit a proven commodity at quarterback to come in here and compete with Michael Van Buren, because Van Buren is having a year that is going to be pushing for the freshman All SEC team, probably with DJ Lagway maybe. And he's having a great year. He looks like a guy that's not going to give that starting position away. But if you were able to keep Blake Shapen, you got a 5th, 6th year, whatever he is at this point, quarterback that started in the Power Five for multiple years, that has been in this system now for several months. That would be huge for Mississippi State. I don't know if Shapen will sign up for that. I lean towards no, because he's going to want to start for his final year. But you never know. You never know what's going to happen. Big Mix. How do you anticipate the impact on the defensive recruits if Levy moves on from Hutz? And do you think that played into his decision to not fire him now? I've always been of the opinion, like, if you know you need to fire someone, you need to make a decision, don't make that decision based on whether or not you'll lose recruits. I don't think there's anybody that's just totally tied to Hutzler, but I don't think it should impact your decision on this. I think you need to be thinking big picture, thinking about the team and the program moving forward, because I don't think there's anybody in this defensive class that's just worth keeping a coach on. I really don't. And you've already lost 3 defensive guys to this point, all 3 that probably could have helped you next year. Austin Howard, maybe not, but Kevontae Henry certainly was going to be pushing for a starting spot at the edge. And I think that Stephen Miller that went to USC, I think he would have played next year at safety. So you're already seeing guys fall off. You're already seeing players that you're in the game for just kind of move on. I mean, you can't make a decision based on recruits and whether or not they'll flip. Sam, what's the vibe if UMass beats us and Lebby still doesn't fire Hutzler? It's not gonna be good. It's gonna be bad. Even if they win, I mean, people are probably still going to be wanting that. Zachary, if is Van Buren a future Heisman candidate if the whole team improves, maybe? To be a Heisman candidate, you're going to have to be a playoff contender, a team contending for the national championship, and State's going to have to be that. But yeah, certainly. Andrew Madden, most defeating deal about this whole thing is all of our easier conference games will be on the road next year. Yeah, the schedule next year is actually tougher if you think about it. I think the goal next year should be what it was this year until we saw just how big of a rebuild it was. Can you get to 6 wins? That I mean, it sucks you're in this position, but you're trying to build at this point. And can you get to 6-6 next year? That's the big thing. But yeah, you got to go. You got to go on the road, and um, you got to play A&M on the road. You got to play Arkansas. You got to play Florida. Um, it's going to be tough. You got Georgia at home. You got Tennessee at home. You got Ole Miss at home. Missouri on the road. It's not going to be easy at all. Justin, does Stonka and JJ start next year? Really just depends on their off season, man. I mean, they need a big off season. Neither one of them are ready to make a major impact, but that's totally normal. I think a lot of people have kind of given up on Stonka too early. It's way too early. A lot of guys they're just not ready. It takes certain players, different amount of time to get into that mode. I think physically the Stonka's ready, but this is definitely just a process for him. And then JJ's not ready either. So we'll see. I think they definitely got the potential, but potential is just that. Any more questions? Game time is another 3:15 kick. State is pretty much living on the SEC network at this point, and all their games are 11 or 3:15 at this point. Jackson, lots of talk about improvements needed at Davis Wade with basketball next week. Were there any offseason improvements to fan experience? I don't know. We'll have to see. I haven't seen any. I think they kind of addressed most of that in the renovations. They did a lot behind the scenes, like in the locker room, the training room. They changed a lot of that down at in the bowels of the hump, much needed, and they did a really good job with that. Um, but yeah, I think they're like one of the things is the area where the DJ is, the pit or whatever it is. You probably need some platforms there to make that a more exciting area instead of just standing on the ground level. And I think that's one of the things that Zach Selman wanted to do. So we'll see if they do that. Storm Chaser, Misery Loves Company. We have the same football record as Florida State. Yeah. I think theirs is just bad evaluations and that the transfer portal. And, you got Mike Norvell coming out and telling people this week that they're going to go to the transfer portal and get some elite players. Well, that's pretty much what you did this year. The transfer portal is playing with fire. I don't think you should use the transfer portal as your big like talent acquisition. I think that it should fill the holes where you need them filled, and then you should be developing people underneath. I think it's really difficult to build an entire roster with that many transfer portal players. Um, some people made it work. I think Ole Miss has made it work. I think Colorado is making it work. They're a much better team, but it's very difficult. I think you still need to have people developing underneath, and I think that's kind of what Jeff Lebby believes too. Big Mix Levy finally confirmed that Calvin Dinkins is going to be out for the remainder of the season. Do you anticipate him returning next year, possible transfer? Who knows, man? Who knows with Calvin Dinkins? It makes no sense that he's not playing. Um, it wouldn't shock me if he transferred. I don't think there's anybody on that defense that isn't expendable at this point outside of, you would like to keep Isaac Smith, probably Zachary Tillman. Other than that, I mean, if anybody else left, it doesn't look like it's something that's going to be severely damaging to the program. It's just another roster spot you have to fill. Hey, Robbie from Salt Lake. What's going on, Coy? I guess that's how you say your name. Welcome. Appreciate you checking in. Andrew, is Davis Wade the worst in the SEC? I've been everywhere but a couple, and I think it's going to be close. It's Vandy is probably the worst, but they're upgrading their experience. So ask me next year, but it's up there with the worst. They've really fallen behind. Nothing's changed inside the stadium really since 2014. They've added the balconies. They've added a couple of other things, but for the most part, it's pretty much the same stadium, and it's falling further and further behind in fan experience. It shouldn't be as bad as it is to be in the SEC. Vandy's made the transfer portal work, and Vandy could possibly become strong under the NIL. I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know how much money they have. I think they've got really good coaching in there right now, and they got a difference maker quarterback. We'll see if they're able to capitalize on this or if this is a 1-year deal for them. Right now, they're just playing hard. I think they got a good system. I think Jerry Keels is a big reason for their success, what he's done. But yeah, I don't know where they stand in the NIL era. I know they struggled with it. I mean, they just don't have a lot of fan support. They got a lot of alums with money, but I don't think there's a huge amount. I mean, they still have the opposing team is still basically overpowering them in the stands. So they got some room to grow. Zachary, will State change uniforms next season in the brand? The only change I expect on the uniforms is instead of the M State on the collar right here, it's going to be State script, and that's all I expect. I expect to see more M State. I think that's going to come back into play. I think the university side's really pushed that. Jackson surprised Brian Haydad hasn't volunteered to help do color commentary for the soccer team. He's willing and ready, I'm sure. Coy, what's going on with Terrence Hibbler? I would have thought he would have gotten on the field by now. Just not. I don't think he's ready. Hunter, thoughts on season tickets selling out? Big deal. I love it. I'm excited to see the fan support this year. I think fans are finally excited about basketball again. It's been so long. Last year, I thought they really took a nice step in fan support. We saw some sellouts in SEC plays. The student section was geared up, excited. It's been a while since the hump has been like that. The hump has been a mundane atmosphere for men's basketball since Rick Stansbury left. And I think finally they are getting back to where the hump used to be. And this is like I said, this is the first time since 2011, 2012 that they've sold out of season tickets. So people are really excited for this year, and I'm pumped for it too. Hunter, off topic, but high school question: who do you think will play in the 3A North half as of now? I I don't. I think the two best teams in the North are Choctaw County and East Webster, both in our area. Um, that would be my pick. Choctaw County and East Webster playing for North half for trip to go to the state championship. That's my pick. I think East Webster in the past has been a more mentally strong program over Choctaw County. Choctaw County looks a little different this year. They look a little more determined. They're coming out and beating people in the ground. The one concern I have about Choctaw County is the fact that they have not played a four-quarter game in a while. This has been running clock in the second half. JV's in the ball game. I think it's that's concerning to me. I'm always looking ahead at things, and that concerns me. But there's not much else they can do. I mean, they're just legitimately better. They have the potential to win a state championship. They're that talented. But if you got me to make a pick, I would say Choctaw County and Noxubee could be playing for state championship. But I think East Webster's definitely capable too. That's my pick for North State, East Webster and Choctaw. Storm Chaser, so your bold prediction is we will be cheering for both men and women basketball. I think there's a very good shot. I think the women from what I'm hearing in the last couple of weeks, I'm feeling a lot better about the women's team than I was earlier. I think Medina Okot's going to be huge. That's a huge addition for them that they didn't know if they would have. She got cleared. She's going to be able to play all season. She is a difference maker, and I think that she will help Mississippi State win a lot more games than maybe even I expected them to. They need to take care of business in non-conference. They don't need to slip up there, and they need to. This is going to be a very difficult conference schedule, but you got to get to 20+ wins in the regular season, I think, to get in. I do have concerns about them getting in. I think the men will be firmly in, but I'm ready to see both of them play. Jackson, 3 straight NCAA tournament appearances would be huge. Can't remember the last time we did that. It would have been 2002 through 05. Does that sound right? 2002, 03, 2003, 04, 2004, 05, I think was the last time. Yeah, I think that's right. It might have been 4 straight. 01, 02. Yeah, I think that's right. Coy, who do you think our next football commitment is? I have no clue. I really don't. I don't know. I don't know who's on the hook. I don't know who's ready to roll. They're just kind of like at a standstill right now. We're seeing a lot of like JUCO offers on the offensive and defensive line. I think they're trying to patch that up with some depth, but I really don't know. Couldn't tell you. But when it's getting close, you need to be on Maroon and White Daily. Paul Jones will have you in the loop. He is the best recruiting writer that we got at Mississippi State, and has daily biscuits that you guys can get some notes, 5 notes every day, Monday through Thursday. It's a great deal for you guys if you're not on there. And if you are on there, like Coy, we appreciate you. But you can sign up today. $1 for a week, 50% off the rest of the year. We'd love to have you. We've hit another milestone this week, and that's been really cool. And we're not stopping there. We're having a good time over there. So come check us out. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you don't already. We have weekly Talkin Dawgs sessions. We have reaction videos. We have media availabilities, press conferences, all that fun stuff right here on the Maroon and White Daily YouTube channel. And go subscribe to the Super Talk Mississippi channel to watch Thunder and Lightning Monday through Friday on your computer, tablet, phone, whatever. And if you like to listen to podcasts, you can get that Thunder and Lightning podcast anywhere that you download podcasts. All right, guys. Appreciate y'all. Another good week. If you missed any of this, this will be going up on the channel in the archives very soon after this is finished. So you can go back and watch the nearly 50 minutes of this if you want to. But other than that, appreciate y'all. We'll see you down the road.